first, we've got to talk about today, our first season, and we're starting it the only way we could with the only appropriate guest. He was our first ever guest on it's the truth. He was our first ever guest on Teal Talk ever, and he's here to share all of his expert advice to rev your RPM right ahead of Q4. It's the Mediavine CEO, Eric Hochberger. Hello, Eric.
Hey, Jenny. Hello, everyone.
How are you today?
I am wonderful. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Your teal wall is looking especially teal today.
Well, thank you. I have a brand new light to hopefully properly capture the tealness of my wall so it doesn't look green again.
We don't need green walls. That is not the Mediavine color. So everyone out in our audience land, if you have questions for Eric on optimizing your RPM or really anything else, because this is your chance, people, go ahead and let her rip, post them in the comments, and we will make sure that we put him on the spot. Like I said earlier, the goal of today is Eric spends a lot of time talking about ways to optimize and get your RPM higher and ahead of Q4, which is magical times. First, let's do that. Eric, why is Q4 so magical for influencers?
Q4, and particularly right around the time between Black Friday and right up until Christmas, are kind of when most advertisers are spending the rest of their budgets. It's similar to like retail. It's when most profits are made by like retailers, and that's where the name kind of Black Friday comes from. It's the same kind of concept for advertising. That's when most ad dollars are spent. So more people trying to buy your ads increases the competition in the auction, means everyone's paying more money for your ads. So it's kind of a magical time of the year. There's a lot of reasons economically behind why it happens to be this time of year. But none of that matters. All you need to know is that people are trying to buy the crap out of your ads. So make sure you're doing everything you can to optimize.
So usually when we're trying to say, like with Brad's blog post, ad revenue by the seasons, we're talking about the fluctuations. We're explaining why the revenue goes down at the beginning of the month. This is basically crazy going up is it all niches, or is there any sort of like niche specific fluctuation that we can talk about?
So individual niches might see slightly different results, but like overall, we're talking most of the major advertisers are going to buy across all different niches of sites. And that's where the primary spend in Q4 is going to come from. So things like CPG or consumer packaged goods, like your big name advertisers are buying on all websites, your big brands. This is going to apply really to everyone.
And that goes with influencer campaigns too, like that just about everyone is wanting to spend all the money in Q4. So I guess just because like all of us as human beings are spending a lot of money in Q4, so are all of the businesses, which is nice. Mm-hmm. We already have a question from Eden Westbrook. She says, what are the basics for the best RPM on a food blog? I have green lights, but it rarely ever hits all teal for mobile and desktop. First, let's tell them what Eden is talking about when she talks about these lights.
Yeah, so we have the signature health checks on our dashboard. We currently have, I believe, 5 of them live. The 3 main ones you're probably always fighting for are your 2 in content ones and then your sidebar health check. Those are super important to have teal. Those are basically saying how your readers are engaging with your content, how long you're spending on your site. Basically, it comes down to, are your ads being seen by your readers? So that's really what you're trying to optimize for, making sure you have good, engaging, long content that they stick around for. And that's kind of what those 3 health checks are measuring.
Perfect. And so she's saying, what are the basics for best food blog? And I think, Eden, actually, rather than giving you that right now, let's kind of go through the different details on the different aspects that we're going to talk about. And then we can do a wrap up at the end. You'll be happy, I promised, Eden. Okay. So first, let's start with, you have a Go for Teal, a monthly or a weekly series that goes on Mondays. And what are you talking about usually in that Go for Teal series?
Whatever I feel like talking about that particular week. Right now, I've been kind of, I would say for the last year or so, concentrating on my kind of increasing RPM series. Began with, I think like increasing font size might have been one of the first 4 that we did. It's still one of the most popular. So it kind of began with that. And that's kind of coming to an end over the next month or 2. Not that we won't obviously always revisit ways to improve your RPM, but that's kind of what the focus has been on this past year. Has it been a year I've been doing them or more? I don't even know.
About a year. It's been around a year.
I need to have seasons for Go for Teal as well.
It's a seasonal fluctuation. Mm-hmm. So basically revving your RPM, and those are quick tips, and we're actually going to go through all of that. But I'm just going to ask like a personal question first, and I know you love this.
Uh-oh.
They make you so happy. How do you know about all the things that you know about? And this is kind of a Jenny question too. Like, you know about SEO and you're also a programmer and you also know about ads. So talk to us about why we should listen to you.
All right. So my background, I am a computer programmer by schooling, computer engineer. So I do know how to program, but I actually first became an SEO guy after college, kind of there was some programming, but even before that, in my high school internship, was doing SEO. I know it's fun, and I'm pretty old now, so this is way before Google even existed. So this was optimizing for search engines before Google. Things were a little bit easier back then. They weren't as smart as Google. So that's actually my background is SEO. That's kind of why I know about it. Been doing it now for, I don't even know how many years, 20 years. So you kind of learn a thing or two along the way. Ads came from the fact that Mediavine, as a company, we pivoted from being an SEO for hire firm to being content writers or publishers. And we had to do our own ads. And back then, you always kind of had to take care of your own waterfall ads. There weren't really these ad management services there are today. So I had to learn. And when our rep firm wasn't so good, I really had to learn even the full stack of ads. So it's just been, honestly, doing this stuff for so long and coming at it from an engineering perspective, as opposed to maybe some other ways people have looked at these things in the past. So
you had to learn, basically. And I just want to say, was the SEO internship pretty much a way to just like get girls to date you? Because obviously that's going to be a thing.
Super popular back then. If you could imagine back in the 90s when people didn't even know what the World Wide Web was, girls were really, really into SEO. So absolutely.
You and Steve Jobs were like breaking them in, getting all the digits. Perfect. Okay. So we should listen to you. And I know everyone here knows that, but I wanted to reiterate that you know about a lot of things. So
just those two fields. Everything else, I'm pretty useless, but that's fine.
But we only care about those two fields today. So you're winning.
Perfect.
I'm going to actually give you a gift today. A gift for Professor Hochberger. I'm going to ask about your very, very favorite topic first, one you could talk about all day long. Do you know what it is, Eric?
I'm going to assume it's Pagespeed then.
It is. You get to talk about Pagespeed because we first explain why Pagespeed impacts RPM and everything else.
I would say Pagespeed impacts just revenue, even more so than RPM. And the reason I'm going to make that differentiation is because Pagespeed is going to get you more traffic. And it's going to allow more of your readers that are coming to your site get to experience your site than might otherwise not have. So it will get you new readers and it'll allow your existing readers to consume more of your content. So it's going to increase your overall revenue, but it's also going to increase your RPM because it has some magical properties such as improving the engagement of users if they're on your site, which ultimately leads to making more revenue from your ads. It's going to improve the viewability because if your site loads faster, your computer or your phone are going to have more resources to be able to load the ads, so the ads can load faster. So you're going to get increased viewability, which ultimately leads to more money, increased engagement from your users, which means they're going to click on ads and make you more money. Overall, it's going to just, it is as amazing as we try to tout it to be. And I think seems like the rest of the world is finally starting to agree with weird Professor Hochberger's obsession for these past 4 years.
It would appear that the major outlets, social media and various SERPs and things like that are valuing page speed like you said they would. Weird. So how do we center our focus on page speed to help publishers earn more? I know that there are some specific dashboard settings that I would like to talk about a little bit.
Yeah, so obviously ads are going to slow down your site. There's nothing we can really do about that. That's just the nature of ads. Each advertisement runs in what's called an iframe, and they're basically each like loading up a little mini website. So we do what we can to optimize from the ad perspective, and that's where we offer these two features, which is optimize for desktop and mobile page speed. And if you use those two features, we're basically going to remove ads from the first screen view of your page, whether that's on a phone or on a desktop computer. And the reason we do that is so that your web browser can prioritize the first screen view of content, which is super important because that is actually how a reader is going to measure how quickly that your site loaded. Because remember, they're not a computer. They just want to see visually how quickly did this look like it loaded to me. And they can't see the second screen view. They can only see the first screen view. So your goal is to make sure things looked like they loaded as fast as they could for your user. And that's actually what Google is measuring as well, because Google, again, is smart, unlike those other search engines of the past. So they're trying to figure out how quickly can that first screen view load for the users that are going to come from Google. So page speed really comes down to optimizing that first screen view, and that's what those two features do. They make sure the ads get the heck out of the way, so your content can load first, and then we kind of start loading the ads after that.
So perception is reality when it comes to your audience, essentially. One, two, it's also reality when it comes to your GPSI score, right? That's what they're measuring in GPSI, which is why we like it so much.
Yeah, 100%. There's other great page speed tools, and then there's some really terrible page speed tools out there, because a lot of these page speed tools have not been updated in the last 5 or 6 years of what their core focus is. So Pagespeed Insights is mobile first, which is so key. Google does a mobile first indexing. All they care about is really how quickly your mobile site is running. Desktop computers are fast. Desktop computers tend to be on Wi-Fi. Mobile phones are slow, and mobile phones tend to be on cellular connections. So cell phones, slower, page speed, much more important for them. And that's what Pagespeed Insights focuses on. The problem is people love to use all these third-party page speed tools. They're measuring your desktop, which doesn't matter to anyone. It doesn't matter to Google, and it doesn't matter to your users. Your site's going to be fast on desktop. You have to have a really bad website to have it slow on desktop. So use Pagespeed Insights. Focus on mobile, focus on Pagespeed Insights.
Sorry, we're talking at the same time. Our flow is off. No. Go ahead, Eric.
We'll get back into the rhythm. It's been a while.
It's been a long time.
We'll figure it out.
I was going to ask you too, so back to those settings, which can we share those blog posts on Optimize for mobile page speed and desktop page speed, just to tell everyone what we're talking about? Are those like turn them on now to rev your RPM, or are there reservations that you have that you want to share with people?
I will 110% say turn on the mobile one. I mean, you should just do it. Desktop, my general warning is make sure you have a fast site before you turn that one on. As I keep saying before, most people don't need help with desktop. If you want to turn that on, go for it. There is a risk of RPM loss just because it, again, removes ads from that first screen view. So if you're not running like our adhesion ad and instead you're running an old school leaderboard ad up top, which we do still offer, that's going to go away. If you're running a sidebar ad at the top of your sidebar, which is kind of like the older syntax place where we used to put it, that's not going to load either. So you might be losing 2 ads. So you got to hope that the page speed makes up for it. So you've seen a ton of people turn it on, see no drop, and then some people turn it on, they see a little bit of a drop. It really all depends on your site. So that one I would still recommend, give it a try, but mobile 100% do it.
Why would someone still be running a leaderboard ad, Eric Hochberger?
Because we have Mediavine give people the controls and to choose. We don't ever enable it by default for a site we're launching. But if people want to turn it on, it's always in their dashboard to turn on. We generally recommend don't run that. There's much more successful ads to run. We prefer to stay out of that first screen view. Google also, from an SEO standpoint, likes to measure your content based on that first screen view as well, where your top content is, and leaderboard ads are going to push that down. So there's a lot of reasons that you shouldn't run a leaderboard ad. They're also lower viewability than things like the adhesion, because users will scroll past them too quickly. So I would recommend turning that off in favor of optimized desktop page speed for sure.
Can someone do that today if they wanted to do that?
Yeah, they have the ability to turn off the leaderboard right in their dashboard under ad settings. Chances are you're probably not even running it unless you turned it on. But that's right under ad settings. It's a little checkbox that says leaderboard, turn it off. Or if you turn on optimized desktop page speed, it's going to turn it off automatically for you by removing it. If it's not going to uncheck the box, but if there's an ad on the page, it's just going to remove it for you.
Perfect. We've got a question from Mary Beth Hamilton. Also, Eric, say hi to everybody that's watching. There are a lot of people watching.
Oh, hey guys. Good.
Hi.
It's going to be exciting. Let's ask some fun questions too.
Let's do it. Okay, Mary Beth Hamilton. My Mediavine dashboard shows that desktop devices have much higher RPMs than mobile and tablet. The individual ad unit RPMs for desktop ads aren't nearly as high. Should I try to get more desktop traffic?
If there was a way for any of us to just get more desktop traffic, I'd say go for it. But short of choosing a different niche, I wouldn't say you're going to be able to significantly influence your traffic unless you're buying traffic, which we never recommend here at Mediavine. We specialize only in organic traffic. Most traffic you can buy tends to be fake or bots, and it's going to end up getting your site kicked out of Mediavine, or even worse, kicked out of Google, which means you can't even come back to Mediavine in the future. So definitely don't buy traffic. The reason why desktop ads pay more comes down to browser history or cookies. We still mostly, obviously in a programmatic world, serve based on the user, the demographics of the user, their kind of behavior, what other websites have they visited, what information do advertisers have about that user. And there's just a lot more information about a user on a desktop phone than a desktop compared to a phone. On a phone, especially on iOS or Safari, they block a lot of cookies. You don't get access to as much on a phone. Android does a little bit better, but you're gonna see on an iPhone, you just get significantly lower CPMs per ad. If there's things you can do to get more desktop traffic, like, I don't know, we've seen sites that have printables, for example. You're only gonna print from your desktop computer for the most part. There are certain like niches like that will have more desktop traffic and good for them, but for the rest of you, don't fight what you can't control. I know we show you those different RPMs, but that's not why we show it to you, not to tell you to go get more desktop traffic, but to show you this is why your RPM might be lower than someone else who has 60% desktop.
Awesome. Okay, Michelle James, what is an average page speed?
What is an average page speed? I mean, I guess it really depends on how you're defining it. With Pagespeed Insights, I think they're going to give you the different scores, and they'll actually show you where you rank within the entire internet or similar sites. So I would use that to figure out what an average page speed is. I know you're just going to want to compare yourself to other bloggers, but really you want to compare yourself to the whole internet, because that's what Google is going to be comparing you to. So just use their numbers for determining what average page speed is. I mean, everyone's goal is to get 90 plus, but obviously that's not, I would say, where the average is right now.
So yeah, that was my next question. What goals should we be setting in terms of page speed?
I mean, obviously, if your goal is to impress Google, it's to get that 90 plus on Pagespeed Insights, because that's when they give you the little green. Nobody knows what Google wants, like officially. Like they're not going to release that. I can tell you numbers that they've given us, like kind of as advice, and that's to use things like webpagetest.org, turn it to mobile. If you do that, because for some odd reason, webpagetest.org, despite being awesome, does a desktop browser by default. Make sure you switch that to mobile. Then you're going to want to see, they have basically kind of like a page speed score. You want to see that to get under a 4,000, or again, with their own tools, you want to see 90 plus. That's kind of the goals that Google gives you. I don't know if those are super realistic for all bloggers to do with their current themes and their current plugins, but if you're willing to change things up a little, it's doable.
So people are asking right now, you're saying that obviously plugins can have a big impact on page speed. Does hosting have a big impact on page speed?
So what's interesting is hosting probably has less of an impact than most people think. So hosting is going to be kind of that first bite. So how quickly your page can first start loading, which is super important. So you need to have a host that set up caching, is what it's called, properly for you in a CDN. And then after that, it's making sure they set what are called caching headers properly. So basically saying how long like the images on your site are good for. So like by default, I don't even know what WordPress might set them for. You might have to load an image every time you visit a page. So your logo might have to keep getting loaded every time they click on a different page. Right. What you really want to say is keep that logo forever, or keep it for a year. I'm not changing my logo. And so those kind of different settings that a host can do can have a decent impact, but most hosts should be doing that if you're with a managed host. So I would say pretty much any of the good managed hosts that have any kind of focus on page speed are all going to be more or less the same. That's not where you're going to find most of the gains for your score. So find a good one for sure. A host is very important. I don't want to undersell that, but it's not going to be the thing that's going to get you to 90 plus. Changing hosts and getting angry at your host because you're not 90 plus is not productive.
Right. And Scott was then asking, which we could go down a huge rabbit hole, this one, but then he reiterated, are some hosting services better than others? And as you're saying, no, not with respect to page speed, but in many other ways, yes, some hosting services are better than others.
Okay, let me caveat that. There will be some that will be better at page speed than others, 100%. We don't recommend hosts around here because unfortunately, when you make recommendations, there's a lot of fun caveats that come along with that. But in our Facebook group, plenty of people make recommendations. I would check in there. You can see who's happy with who. And a ton of these different hosting companies again, the managed ones are going to be able to get you the kind of the three things they can influence. They can kick the butt there, but they cannot fix the other stuff for you. That's going to come down to your plugins and all that kind of other stuff.
So there's so many questions, and there are always so many I want to ask you when I'm here. But kind of doing a little wrap up on this mini page speed topic. Are there things people can do right now to improve their page speed ahead of Q4, other than, because when you do the GPSI and you get the laundry list of things that are, some of them you have no idea what anyone is talking about. So what can people actually do rather than hiring someone if they weren't going to hire someone?
And the best thing you can always do is literally go through, remove as much what's called third-party JavaScript as you can. I mean, that is the biggest thing that's going to slow down your site. I'm not going to mention names, but there's so many social sharing plugins that don't just load the social buttons for you. They're going to load their own JavaScript that will then insert them into the page. Same thing with newsletter signups. A newsletter signup from a computer programmer's perspective should be a web form. It should be the smallest thing on your site. Instead, some of these things that are literally designed for newsletter collection end up being the thing that slows down your site the most. And that's because it's third-party JavaScript. They can do whatever the heck they want. Remove as much of that as you can. Be very protective about who you give access to install a JavaScript on your page. Just because an influencer network sent you one sponsored campaign once doesn't mean they should get code across your site everywhere. That is slowing down and destroying your page speed. And the same thing goes with plugins. Every plugin is going to install its own JavaScript, its own style sheets. You've got to make sure that that plugin is conscientious about how it's doing it. So for example, Create, we make sure that we only insert JavaScript and style sheets and that kind of stuff on pages where you run a Create card. Most plugins don't do that. That's not the default behavior of WordPress. So every single plugin you install, this is true of any other recipe card plugin even out there today, they're going to run on every page, even if there's not a recipe card. So you just got to think about that with every plugin you install. It's slowing down your site. So remove what you can, and you can do that without hiring someone. You can go through and do a self-audit. I believe we even have a blog post on that.
What? We do.
Right. So, I mean, that's what I would say is the best thing you can do without hiring someone. And obviously, when it comes to a theme, look for the lightest weight theme you can and sign up for the Trellis beta, which I'm sure we'll be talking about later.
Well, okay. We have a backlog of about 5 questions. 1, 2, Susanna just very kindly posted our third-party script audit tool. Can you talk about what that is with respect to removing that JavaScript that you were just referencing? Yeah,
so third-party JavaScript. So our auditor is just going to be able to basically look through your page and see what you're loading at page load. That's third-party JavaScript that might stop your page from loading. So that was really focused on when people were running synchronous JavaScript, which is still a thing, unfortunately. And synchronous JavaScript basically means nothing else can continue loading on your page until that JavaScript is done doing its thing. Which means if one piece of code on your site is going to take 5 seconds to do its thing, your whole site just stops, waits 5 seconds before it can continue to load. It's the worst thing you can do for page speed, and that's kind of the default behavior for JavaScript. A ton of people, unfortunately, still write code that way. So that's what that tool focuses on, getting rid of all of that. And it'll also reveal kind of all that third-party JavaScript you're running, so you can kind of hopefully remove some of it while you're in there.
What's the thing everyone talks about with Gravatar that's related to page speed? I've heard a whole bunch of people reference that that's an easy thing that can quickly up your page speed.
Super easy. So by default, remember, images are not lazy loaded. You can install something like WP Rocket or the various plugins out there for WordPress that enable you to turn on lazy loading of images. But if you don't, Gravatar is going to load an image next to every single comment on your page. So if you have something like 99 comments on your most popular post, by default, you're loading up 99 images. Chances are your post might only have 4 to 6 images yourself, and now you just loaded 20, 30 times that in your comments. It can bring a page down to like a screeching halt. That's just the default behavior of Gravatar. So you can turn that off. You can lazy load, but even if you're lazy loading, that's still 99 DOM elements, as they would call it in the Pagespeed Insights tool. You're still loading extra stuff inside your page that you might not want. So you can consider disabling Gravatar. Would probably be the best thing for page speed. Or again, use something like Trellis where all comments are lazy loaded. You don't have to worry about it. I know it's just me, a Trellis sales pitch if I let it do that.
Well, can I let it be a Create sales pitch first? Because that kind of segueing directly into that. Also, Courtney Odell happened to say, while talking about page speed, removed another recipe card and moving to create sped my site up so much.
Yeah, so unfortunately, thank you, Courtney. That is literally the best sales pitch, one of the best sales pitches for Create. I mean, Create, besides just being probably the most SEO friendly in terms of its structured data, the markup, and being a beautiful and ad optimized and all the other great things about it, Pagespeed, it is hands down the fastest of any of the plugins out there. And again, like I said before, the rest of the plugins out there, and that's just recipe cards, it's everything default in WordPress are going to load all of their stuff, whether there's a recipe card or not, on that page. So it's really important. Even if you moved over to Create, you still have to disable that old plugin to take advantage of the speed, or that old plugin still slowing you down.
Okay, I'm going to jump something and then we're going to have to come back. Let's talk about, I'm going to actually grab a viewer question. I've got things I want to ask you and they want to ask you, whatever, they're more important than me. Kevin Pandori Mercier said, I noticed after setting quote ad limit to quote none that ads are clustered at the top. There are a lot of ads all grouped up at the top of the article, then a lot less down the page. 1, is it normal behavior? 2, can I change anything in the settings to have ads evenly distributed on the page?
Yeah, so ads actually should be pretty evenly distributed on the page. It's the nature of how our in-content logic works. Even when it comes to a limit, like let's say you set that limit to 9 or 12, whatever the defaults are, it's not going to load 9 ads and then stop serving ads at that point. It's going to space those 9 ads out throughout your content. If you set no limit, it's basically just going to set what we consider kind of the minimum, which is based on the CBA, or the Coalition for Better Ad Standards. They're going to say, and you actually choose this in your dashboard, but the CBA says you want 70% content, 30% ads. We allow you to choose that percentage. And we're just going to wait till there's been enough pixels of content before we'll show another ad. They are actually already evenly distributed. You can do things like setting a larger minimum buffer by paragraphs. So that's another option in your dashboard. You can say by default, it's don't serve an ad unless there's been 2 paragraphs. You could make it 3 if you want to space them further apart. So there are definitely options to make sure, but they shouldn't be getting clustered. There might be something else going on. So I'd probably recommend emailing into publishers at Mediavine.com, because that sounds like a bug. That's definitely not the expected behavior.
Didn't you write a blog post about ways to set up your in-content ads?
I believe, and also a very long video. It might have been my most epically long one.
The longest Go for a Teal video of all time.
All right, so I would recommend we post that. I don't go and take that over for the next 10 minutes of this.
Yeah, let's just post it and then you can go watch that rather than us having him talk about in-content ad settings for the rest of the live. Okay, there you go, Kevin. Kimberly Vargo, a couple of years ago, I heard that Google liked lists like numbers or bullets. We've been using the Gutenberg block for lists, which has the numbers and bullets built in. How do those affect RPM since they can get long and ads don't populate inside of blocks? Right.
So unfortunately, that's just the nature of our in-content logic. Again, it's going to try to respect your lists and not break them up. It does that on purpose. So I will say, unfortunately, it is going to impact your RPM. There are ways around this. One thing you can do is you can actually break a list up yourself, and you can use what's called the start or the offset parameter in HTML. So you can have 2 ordered lists, and this have the second one. If the first one ended at 3, the second one can start at 4. And so from a user perspective, it'll look like one list. Google will be smart enough to put those together, and you'll be able to still insert ads between them. That's kind of a good alternative you can do. We are researching ways to allow people to turn on something that kind of would break up lists. That's a feature that might be coming out soon for Mediavine. Yeah, it gets a little dangerous though, because it can break up a lot of content you might not want it to. So that's why we've never kind of made that the default behavior, right? We don't want to break up the list unless you want us to.
I love it when you tease things on the show that are going to be exciting inventions that are coming up. That's so exciting. Okay, so I'm going to go on to one of my other large blocks of topic that I wanted us to talk about that people are asking questions about and alluding to, and I just want to lean into it. So you've devoted a whole lot of time on your Go for Teals and in blog posts and Mediavine time because your time is Mediavine time, to our publisher's most valuable content, quote, because that's what we talk about and that's how we refer it to. For food bloggers, that's a recipe. For craft bloggers, that's their instructions and supply list. In other words, we're talking about, and if you don't agree with this definition, feel free to tell me, we're talking about the section of the blog post that readers really, really want, and sometimes content creators give the ability to skip to. Is that pretty much what we're talking about when we talk about most valuable content?
That would be the best definition of most valuable content, better than one I would give, so 100%.
Thank you. Okay. So you directed our engineering team to spend time working on a way for niches outside of food to be able to monetize their MVC, most valuable content, and for food bloggers to be able to earn even better with that MVC. And all of that's possible with our WordPress plugin Create.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is why we put so much effort and development resource into Create, because it is the most valuable content for a reader and for an advertiser.
So talk to me, for those that don't know, give us a little Cliff's Notes on what Create is and why it's so important for content creators.
Yeah, so basically it doesn't just take your most valuable content and present it. Okay, so it takes your most valuable content that Jenny was referring to before, which is either your recipe or how-to or a list or the various other things that Create has and will be adding in the future. But it takes those and it presents them in a beautiful way to the user. So it looks very engaging. It's printable, which readers love. It is optimized for ads, which is pretty unique to Mediavine. So if you're running another kind of plugin to do these things, you might only get one ad, and that's your most valuable ad space. Create is able to insert multiple ads and put them in very optimized locations. And it also, most importantly, I think, it marks these things up for Google. So Google has what's called schema.org. It's a standard outside of Google, but they use schema.org to do what are called rich snippets. So you're going to get special results in Google if you use Create. You're going to appear in carousels you might not otherwise have. So if you ever do a mobile search on Google, you'll see what they call carousels. They're special little breakout sections. So you might not even be in result 1 to 10, but you can appear in these special kind of carousels that pop you to the very top of search results. I posted one of these in the group this past week. For a recipe where Heather, our support manager, is seeing a 45% click-through rate by being in that spot. So 45% of people that are searching for that end up on Heather's site because of the fact she's using Create in a video. And so those rich snippets cannot be undersold on how important they are to SEO.
That is bananas. So Daphne Paz, I'm not sure, asked a question about how craft cards could help RPMs. So let's talk a little bit about what Create does for bloggers outside of the food niche. And let's humble brag about the exciting thing that happened with the how-to schema.
Yeah, no, 100%. So really almost everything we now say for recipe or food bloggers can now be true for craft, how-to, and anyone that writes instructional content. Since its inception, Create has actually supported how-to schema, but Google did not used to support how-to schema. But we're of the mindset, if you build it, they will come. So schema is, again, a third party that's not run by Google. So it's actually a conglomerate of the 3 major search engines, if you can even count 3 major search engines anymore, but they would be Google, Bing, and Yahoo, I think. Does Yahoo still exist? I don't even know. That's terrible of me. But basically, it's a third party, and they had support for how-to before Google had it. And so we marked it up in the correct way. Enough people do it, and eventually Google will see all that data because they're already parsing that data, and then they added official support. So now how-to gets the same treatment as recipe cards. They get their own carousels, they get their own rich snippets, and they get to take advantage of all the cool things that Create does for your RPM. So on that front, recipe bloggers have kind of always known this. The most valuable content is going to be where your user spends the most engagement on your page. And where the users are spending the most engagement, that's where ads are going to perform the best. They're going to have higher viewability because the user's their screen is going to be stuck basically to where that content is. So therefore the ad will be seen for longer. And they're more likely to click on an ad if they're reading kind of the content around that ad. So those ads perform better. We actually run a separate ad unit in those spots than in your content. You can measure that inside of your own dashboard. There's a special section that will be called recipe. Yes, it's called recipe, even if it's your craft or how-to or your list, or actually, no, I don't believe lists use that. So right now, craft and recipe both show up as recipe. We should probably rename that. But the point is, like, it's a higher performing ad. You can see the viewability there is going to be significantly higher than your in-content ads. The CPMs will be higher. So you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of Create, so that as a craft blogger, you can get those higher CPMs of those ads.
So is there a way for niche? So we know that food people can use it. We know that craft people can use it, how-to people, DIY people. What about travel? Kevin Pandori Mercier just said, definitely need to figure out how to use Create for travel now.
Yeah, 100%. So we want to bring all of these same tools to every niche we can. So it's important to note is that Google currently supports 30 different schema types. We're going to be focusing our efforts on not all 30 are applicable to this, but as many of those as we can before we start kind of really pushing on non-officially recognized schema types, like we did with how-to. We will definitely come back and do non-officially ones afterwards to get Google to keep adding more stuff. So as far as travel goes, there is actually a card for them. And it's basically top places. So, you can say these are the top places to visit in Rome, the top restaurants to eat in New York City, whatever it may be. As long as it's a list and it's top places, you're going to be eligible for kind of those rich results in travel. So that's one of the things we're going to be working on in the future, along with some other schema types we have coming. So things are coming to travel. I know we've been promising this for a long time. I promise we have not forgotten about you guys.
We love you, travel bloggers. We are not giving you love. We're going to be back to you. Kim Hanna has a Create question for you. Okay, I am using the How to Create card to make a, quote, decision rather than create a physical craft. It is a how to calculate topic. Is that hurting me?
No, definitely not. So if you read Google's actual definition of how they want you to use how to, it's for anything instructional, anything that's step-by-step. Their example is how to tie a tie. That's not creating anything. That is literally tying a tie, right? Like, so
it's creating
pretty much
with an awesome tie knot.
So I would say go with anything that is instructional and you'll be fine. It's what Google intended.
Kim, can we see your post where you're having people how to calculate or make the decision? That would be amazing. Okay, Kevin said he will use as soon as it's released. He's talking about the travel, the how to. That's released right now, isn't it? How to? Well, travel can use Create.
Travel can use it if there's a step-by-step instruction, and a lot of travel bloggers use our list functionality. The specific stuff coming for places and top places, that's coming in a future version.
Right, but like packing and things like that, you can use that. But as soon as top places comes out, that's a different. We'll get it there.
We promise.
How would you recommend? So let's say that somebody in the travel or in the craft niche or the DIY niche has never used a card like this. How would you recommend that they implement it to maximize their RPMs moving into Q4?
Same advice we give for everything. Look to your top posts. Most of the time, your top posts, if you tackle your top 20, there's like the 80-20 rule, right? Your top 20 posts are probably 80% of your traffic. So you really don't have to extend significantly beyond your top post to start noticing an impact. And if you see an impact, then work your way down from there and just make sure you're doing it for all new posts, because that's going to be where your best effort is spent on creating new content. So yeah, try it out. Try it out in your top 10. See if you start to notice an impact. That's probably enough to start actually measuring what kind of CPMs you're going to see in these recipe ads compared to content, and if it's worth your time.
And then from there, I would say go into your Google Analytics and look ahead to what was really popular in Q4 last year in December and things like that, and pop it in those places too.
Oh yeah, if you can get ahead of it, that's even better to make sure that you don't get that pop in traffic and catch it a day or two later. It's much better.
So we're going to talk about another super awesome thing that you love to talk about, and that is video. 2018 was the year of video. That's when we started talking about video really heavily at Mediavine. And then the year of video became the decade of video, and we're still talking about video. We have a video in the marketing or the brand team called Video, because it's a video about making videos. It's so meta, it like blew our minds. So let's talk about video a little bit, because I don't think we can deny at all that in terms of boosting RPM, video is one of the best places that you can invest your time. Yeah.
Yeah, video is insane. We have an internal tool that we use for kind of comparing sites when someone wants to email in and figure out what's going on. We literally have to only compare non-video sites to non-video sites because that's how drastic the RPM difference is between the two. Video CPMs are several magnitudes higher than display. So you can see somewhere like a $15 to $20 CPM a lot of times on a video ad. You're never going to see that on display. You'll be right. So it's a big difference in terms of the earnings you can make. Yeah, so we'd be reluctant not to bring that up on a Revving RPM talk. Video, if you can use it, 100%.
And you can use it even if you think you can't without, like, if you don't want to get in front of the camera or you don't, how can you use it if you aren't a big, I want to be on camera person and not camera hogs like you and I are?
How would you not want to hop on and talk with Jenny in front of your Teal wall? I don't understand.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, if you don't want to do that, there's definitely other ways you can do video. We have a great blog post on using Animoto, which is a tool that's going to allow you to kind of create a video from your own content. So you can create unique videos without actually being in front of a video camera using a tool like Animoto. There's a lot of useful stuff you can give to your reader using things like still images, using things like, and we've even done it where you'll use kind of, why am I blanking on the name of them, but like the clip art of video. What's the word for that? Stock video.
Stock video. Oh.
Stock video. I can't use the clip art. That's not even a term anymore. So use the stock video. I mean, you can use stock video combined with photos from your own site, and you can kind of build really awesome video content without even a video camera.
I have really good news for everybody, and I don't even know if you know this. In 2 weeks, my next Teal Talk guest is an Animoto person. We're going to be talking all about Animoto and making videos with Animoto and a special offer from Mediavine publishers. So
perfect. You don't need me to talk about it then. You have an expert coming in 2 weeks.
You have an expert. We're going to talk about how to make videos on Animoto. So it's going to be pretty awesome. Eden Westbrook said, adding just one video to my site almost doubled my daily income. It's insane.
Yeah, like I said, we literally cannot compare non-video sites to video sites. It's that big of a difference. And the difference from 0 to 1 is pretty astronomical, but 1 to 2 is another big leap. So go make a second, because we have an awesome feature called Up Next, which after someone finishes watching your video, we automatically will play the next video, which makes you eligible for another ad spot. So another one of those insanely high CPM video ads can play.
Okay, Lauren Noel, sad face. She said, I added a video and it makes like nothing. Is this because my video sucks?
No.
I'm sorry, I did that when you were taking a sip of coffee. I was laughing at it too. Coffee up the nose.
Without seeing your video, I'm going to assume it doesn't actually suck. And that's not the reason why you're seeing this. You got to make sure that you're featuring the video and the video is being inserted into the right place in your posts. So definitely email into publishers@mediavine.com. We can help you. But basically it's 2 features and there's 4 checkboxes, I would say, under video player settings in your dashboard. You need to make sure all 4 of them are checked. That's autoplay on desktop and mobile. If you don't run autoplay, nobody is watching your video. Click to play is kind of dead. You go on Facebook, they autoplay videos. You go on YouTube, you click on a video, it's autoplaying. You don't click, you're not clicking play. Nobody clicks play anymore. If you run a click to play video on your site, you'd be lucky with 2% of people clicking play on it. So you need those 2 autoplay settings. The next one is featuring a video. So it is amazing if you can go into every blog post of yours and have a video that is specific for that blog post. 100% do that, but that's not realistic. No one's ever gonna be able to hit up every page or create a video for every single page on their site. And that's where the featured video comes in. You can feature a video to basically auto insert on the pages that don't have video content. So if you inserted one, we won't put a video in there. If you don't have one, we're gonna put a video in there for you. Amazing feature. And then the final one is optimize the video placement. So we actually don't encourage bloggers to put videos at the very top of their posts anymore. That was a lifetime ago. We don't encourage you to put it right by your recipe card, again, a lifetime ago. Where you want it is kind of towards the top of your content, but below that first screen view and low enough the video has had a chance to load without having an impact on your page speed. It's important to note that video is incredibly bandwidth heavy. They're large files, so they're going to take a little bit of time to load. Again, we do everything we can to optimize the crap out of how quickly our video player loads and how quickly those videos load. We use I know I shouldn't use words like that. Sorry. I get really excited about Pagespeed. I was talking about Pagespeed.
Want to like have your picture and that quote. We optimize the crap out of it. CEO Eric Hochberger.
Exactly. So we use like the latest codecs to make sure that the video is as small as it can be. But at the end of the day, a video file is so much larger than an image. So you want to push it down a little bit lower just to give it time to load. And again, that setting's going to automatically do that for you. On mobile, it's smart enough to push it down even further than it does on desktop because, again, phones are slower than desktop. So if you turn on all 4 of those features, the autoplays, the feature, and that optimize, and you're still not making money off video, 100% email in. There's something weird. Maybe it is your video is terrible and we can help you make a new one, but we'll help you figure it out. I don't think it's that.
Assume that your video is terrible. Your video is probably awesome. There's just probably something weird going on behind the scenes that we can fix you with. So just email into publishers. People are going nuts right now, so I'm going to read some of these comments. Okay. Elizabeth Lee Porter said, I make all of my videos with Animoto. She's actually making one right now. Way to go, Elizabeth.
Awesome.
To know. Caroline Iadarola. That's a beautiful name. Are we talking about video in general, like links from our YouTube channel or direct Mediavine video? What are we talking about, Eric?
Oh, should have specified. If you want to make money, use the Mediavine video player. YouTube is not going to make you money. There are YouTube influencers that get millions of views per video. They make money. The rest of us who use YouTube don't make money. In this, the CPMs that you're going to make on YouTube are so much lower than what we can earn you with the Mediavine video player. If you control the traffic and it's on your site, use the Mediavine video player. When it's Google's traffic, AKA YouTube, use the YouTube player. So I'm not discouraging anyone from doing YouTube. Do YouTube. Build an audience. They are giving you traffic if you upload your video to YouTube. We upload our videos to YouTube. I'm not saying don't use YouTube, but on your blog itself, if you want to earn money, Mediavine video player, hands down.
But Eric, how can I grow my YouTube audience at the same time as making money with Mediavine? What if I'm worried about that?
Well, then you're going to want to definitely go into player settings, and you're going to want to put in your YouTube channel, because a cool feature we have is as part of Up Next, before that next video loads, we give you kind of your own, what they call, I think, an end cap or an end card in YouTube, where we basically give a little chance for people to subscribe to your YouTube channel between every video on your site. So we'll actually help you grow your YouTube audience and help you make more money.
I can have the best of both worlds?
The best of both.
That is bananas. Okay. Sherry Kimlinger says, what is the best way to post videos on your site? Is it embedding from YouTube?
Well, I feel like I accidentally just answered that one.
You did, but go ahead and read it.
Definitely do not embed videos from YouTube. Also, by default, YouTube videos are not lazy loaded. The Mediavine video player is lazy loaded. YouTube is going to slow down your site. I realize the irony. It's Google. You think they're not going to slow down your site. They will. Google runs a lot of different products. They don't all talk to each other. Running the Mediavine video player, we're a small company. Our products all talk to each other. We will lazy load it. It will not impact your page speed. And it's going to make you a lot more money. So I know a lot of people like to run both. Don't run both. Run the Mediavine video player.
Fantastic. Lauren Noel said none of those 4 boxes were checked. So she didn't have any of those 4 boxes checked on her site. So should everyone just go check those boxes like right now?
Check all 4. Check all 4. Know what they're doing, because you might not like the experience. So make sure it jives with what you're trying to do. Money, it's all balance, right? User experience versus revenue. Make sure that you're happy with what it's doing to your site. Give it a little time before you make the decision, so you know how much money it could be making you. Give it a few days and then weigh in on the decision. But I would say check on all 4, check all 4, and then come back after a few days and see if you still like the decision.
Check on all 4 and then check on what happens. Right?
Perfect. That's
okay.
what I meant.
I know. We'll make another graphic that has the quote with that quote underneath here. We can do that. We have
Optimize the crap out of it. Yep.
Optimize the crap out of it. Okay. Aaron Hart said, making my video with existing content gave me such a spike in revenue. It pushed me to learn to shoot video. It changed my business.
That's awesome. And again, I want to make something very clear. If you can create your own video, and sorry to our guests in 2 weeks, that's better than what the Animoto is going to do for you. Those things that I was showing you guys, like in the group, we can hopefully post a link to that GIF. Basically, you get the most amazing search results if you have video embedded in your recipe cards right now. So food bloggers, 100% need to be doing it. How To and Craft can do the same thing. And I'm sure there's going to be other carousels coming in the future. Google loves video. You're only going to get that if it's a high quality video related to the content. And yes, the Mediavine video player is 100% eligible for it. Mediavine video player will get you any SEO boost you need. You do not need to use YouTube. In fact, I haven't even seen a YouTube video in those carousels that are embedded on a page.
Okay, so Carol Borchardt just asked, and this is something I believe you talked about recently on your Monday segment. Should you have it in your create recipe card too?
So the important part is that the schema appears in there. But I think even in that post that I did, someone found if you just use the Mediavine video player and it's outside of the card, Google is smart enough. They're going to associate it with the card. So really the key is just making sure you're using the Mediavine video player and it appears somewhere in the content, that video. You can put it in both spots. There's no harm to that. We added the feature to the Mediavine video player that will kind of load it in both spots, and we do it with as little impact as we can to page speed. So both is fine.
Jenny Field said, I add it in the card and then click hide and add the code to auto insert in an optimized placement.
If you're hiding it, you got to make sure that you're not relying on auto insert. You also have to I don't know if physically is the right word, but you got to physically, digitally put it inside of your content as well. So make sure you're embedding the video and not relying on auto insert. That hide is going to not output the video, only the schema. So you need to make sure that video appears. And remember, auto insert or feature is going to feature a different video. So it's not going to be the same schema and the same video. So it's a problem.
We have a blog post on all this. We're posting, all that stuff is posted. So guys, click on the blog post that talks about video placement and all of those things. Eric does it in detail. So please click on those. Eden Westbrook, would it be best to have a long video, like a cook with me or cooking show type video, like 10 to 20 minutes embedded from YouTube or through Mediavine? Which one would be best for page speed, or should those not be on a blog at all and strictly stay on YouTube?
I think that is the wrong audience for a blog post. If people are looking to watch video, they're going to find it on YouTube. People aren't going on a blog post to watch a 20-minute long cooking video. They're going on your website to get a recipe. Giving them a short 30-second clip of it, highlighting how to make the recipe. That's what they want to see.
Or show
short attention spans.
It is at the end, or how amazing the chair looks when you refinished it, or whatever. But yeah.
Right. You can always have a link to watch the full video on YouTube, and I would recommend that. Just don't embed it. Like, nobody's going to be watching it, and it's just slowing down your site for nothing.
Fantastic. Or you could go on like a social media platform and do a long video like we're doing right now. Just saying. Rafael DiLallo says, what is the optimal length for videos? I read 30 seconds to 1 minute is optimal. Will ad revenue decrease with longer videos? We kind of already a little.
Yeah, so 30 seconds is always optimal. And the reason why is because that's the minimum you need to be eligible for 30-second long ads, which is still one of the more popular ad lengths. So your ad cannot be longer than your video content.
Makes sense.
That's an ad policy and just common sense. So 30 to 60 seconds is going to get you eligible for most ads. And the key to short content is, again, remember that up next feature. As soon as that user is done watching that video, there's a chance for them to watch a second video. So the shorter that video is, the more likely they are to watch multiple videos. So 30 to 60 seconds is going to get you a lot more. Longer form content, we currently do not do what's called mid-roll or ads in the middle of your content like Facebook does. That's not how we do the ads. The ads are at the beginning. So longer content does not make you more money. If anything, it makes you less money here.
Fantastic. But it does not make you less money when we're talking about your written words. And we're going to talk about that in a second. Marissa Moore has one more question to video, and then we're going to have to do like a super fast best of your Go for Teal because we're almost out of time, boss. It flew by.
You got me rambling on Create. Sorry.
It's
and
good.
Page speed, mostly page speed.
Okay, hold on. Marissa Moore says, if we use a general video for all posts, do you recommend it be a best of, or can it just be a top performing video for any blog post? I'm curious what you've seen to perform the best.
I personally, from a user experience, would prefer to see a best of. Just by the nature of a user might see it multiple times, it might be weird to see a video that's unrelated otherwise on that post. So I just think from a user experience perspective, I'd prefer to see people use more best of videos.
Awesome. Okay. Since you alluded to it so much and we haven't gone back to it, why don't you quickly tell them what Trellis is and why everyone is asking about it in the comments too when we share that you're coming on.
So Trellis is going to be Mediavine's WordPress theme framework. So I say theme framework similar to the way that Genesis is a theme framework. And then Mediavine is also going to be building child themes for Trellis. So Trellis will be your theme, but Trellis is designed for page speed, is designed for ads. So it's optimized for page speed and ads, obviously, because it's coming from Mediavine and it looks beautiful. So it's also a great user experience for your readers. I think the reason why people are so excited with Trellis is because it's so much more than just a theme. It's going to replace several plugins. I think people have had to use all sorts of stuff to get page speed out of their images, their style sheets, their JavaScript. Trellis is going to take care of all of that for you. It's going to lazy load your images. It's going to load your critical CSS. It's going to remove CSS that you don't need on your page. It's going to serve your images in next-gen formats. It's going to do insane things. All the stuff that Lighthouse and Pagespeed Insights tell you to do, you have no clue how to do them. Trellis just does them out the box. You just click install. So there's a reason why people are so excited for this. It's going to give people the ability to get those 90+ scores we were alluding to at the beginning, get the higher viewability, get longer session duration, more pages per user. It's going to be something that's going to help everyone be able to increase their revenue and deliver a beautiful website.
It sounds great. How can I get involved in it?
So it's currently not out. That's something we have to warn people. I know. So you cannot install it today. We only have it running right now on 3 of our employees who are also bloggers on their sites. We like to test things internally, obviously, before we move on to our beta pool. But we have an open beta form that we should link to in the comments. Sign up, because we'll be going through that beta pool before we release this thing to the general public. We want to make sure this is beta tested. Themes have to interact with a lot of different plugins, especially with how aggressive Trellis is being. As I mentioned, Trellis is kind of a lot more than just a theme. So we have to make sure it's working across a whole lot of stuff out there. And from what I've learned, publishers like to run some weird plugins. So we have to kind of test as much as we can. So sign up for that beta, and that's how you get involved.
We will share that link. You mentioned, oh my God, you mentioned next gen format on images, and Bailey Mills actually asked earlier if you recommended next gen format on images, and that's something that Trellis is going to offer inherently. Yeah,
so there's what's called WebP or JPEG 2000, and there's a few other silly ones I've never even heard of that they mention on the Pagespeed Insights guides. That's what they're referring to as next gen. So JPEG, GIF. Some of these things are like 20, 30 years old at this point. Like, these are ancient technologies. Next gen are able to get you better quality images at a smaller size. So that's the whole appeal to them. And none of us are using them. And this is kind of Google's way of saying, go use them, have a better quality image, have it load faster. And Trellis can help you serve those. And even, I believe, soon help you generate them.
Okay, Aaron Hart, I've got a few questions here. Aaron Hart, I've put off my redesign project off 6 months, already waiting for Trellis with Pagespeed in mind. I was just about to give up a go with Genesis. How long until there's a non-beta release? Carol Borchardt, can you share the sites that are in the beta group, in the beta program in the Mediavine group? Lauren Noel, when does Trellis come out? Sherry Kimlinger, I'm not actually with Mediavine yet because I'm still working to up my page views to the minimum required. Will Trellis only be available to Mediavine publishers? And Kevin Mercier wants to know any release date in periods, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year.
All right, I'm going to try to get through all that as much as I can in the minute remaining. So Trellis right now, the plan is, again, we have another wave hitting next week of our own internal employees. And then we're going to start taking from that beta pool. We're hoping that's going to be by the end of this month, early next month, we're going to start taking in beta testers. So release date, we don't have one. We want to make sure this is a good product. It might be in beta for not as long as Gmail, right? It's not going to be like 10 years of beta, but it's going to be a longer beta period than people might like. So sign up for the beta if you're interested. It's important to note during the beta, it's going to be us releasing our child themes, and that's all we're supporting. There's light customization that you can do with the child themes, but if you're looking for your own custom theme built on Trellis, that's not going to happen during this beta. It would be too much for us to support. So that's probably closer to the longer periods of time you were saying, 6 months or a year. So if you can't wait that long, install it, do a Genesis one. That's fine. We're not going to tell people to wait forever for Trellis custom themes. It's not. There's too much money that you're missing out on if your site needs that redesign. And as far as non-Mediavine publishers, again, we have a very large beta pool right now. We're going to be taking from Mediavine publishers first, just because Mediavine publishers are who we have the existing relationship with. It's easier for us to support and work with. So I would say that they're going to be prioritized, but long-term, this is not going to be exclusive to just Mediavine publishers. Look to how we handle Create. It's available for the entire community. So that's the eventual goal with Trellis as well.
Okay, do you have anywhere to be right away? Because there were a couple things that I really wanted us to talk about that are fast, but I just wanted to get them out. Is it okay if we run over for a couple minutes?
I'm yours. Let's hang out.
Okay. So I'm going to say this for people that need to run. If you need to run in a couple of weeks, it's on a Tuesday. We'll be back. We'll be talking with Animoto's Jeff Cosson, and we're going to be giving a special offer for Mediavine publishers. So don't miss it. I'm going to go through quickly with Eric in his Go for Teal series. He shared a lot of quick fixes that can have huge impact, immediate impact on your RPM. So I'm going to go through the highlights really quick and have you give them a to-do list for this evening or the next week to get ready for Q4. First, font size, go.
Check the blog post out because I go into a lot of detail. Google's minimum is 16 pixels. That's for SEO reasons. You need a minimum of 16 pixels, and that's in your body font, not your headings. Your headings should be bigger. Again, that is a minimum set forth by Google. We recommend a little bit higher, 18 pixels, err on the side of a little bit bigger. We've seen people go bigger. It's going to really depend on the font that you're using and how it looks on your site. The reason why that might look big to you when you think 16 pixels or 18 pixels, look on a mobile phone. It is the only way people can read without zooming in unless you have like insane vision. So do it. 16 pixels or bigger, 18 pixels or bigger. Let me go with that.
Do it today. Okay, line height.
Line height, again, is going to be something that is going to vary based upon your font and your design. I think the number we kind of give is based on Google's recommendation from their material style guide, and that's a 1.6. That's going to be relative to the font size. So it's like calculated 1.6 times that 16 pixels. That's a good number to start with. And again, you can go more. Don't go less. It's going to be, again, harder for people